Okay, good morning or good afternoon when you're watching this presentation. My name is Mary Martin. I'm a Senior Academic Advisor with the Lee Business School, and I'm going to be going through a few changes that we've had here, and also some reminders of degree requirements and majors and minors that we offer and so forth for some of the newer advisors. So hopefully this will cover any questions that you might have, and we will go ahead and begin. So our majors that we offer two different types of degree programs. We offer a BSBA and we offer a BA degree. So the BSBA is basically a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and that's where the majority of our degrees fall. We have one degree that we offer as a Bachelor of Arts degree. So the BSBA degrees cover accounting, economics, entrepreneurship, finance, information systems, international business, management with a human resources concentration, marketing, and then real estate and urban economics. The only BA degree we offer is in economics. So you'll notice we have a BSBA and a BA option for that degree program. The reason why the BA program is under us is because the Department of Economics is under the Lee Business School. So that's why we offer both degree options. The majority of the BSBA degrees are set up exactly the same. And then the BA degree is set up more so like a Bachelor of Arts degree. So you don't have a large section of business core classes, you just have economics courses, and then the students have a very large elective area that they can fill with classes. So this degree is sometimes good for students that are transferring, and maybe they were doing a program in a different area, or they want to do a pre-law degree, so they want to have economics, poli-sci, and maybe some other courses blended together. But we do explain to students that the BA is not a business degree per se, it's a Bachelor of Arts degree. So a few changes in our curriculum that is coming up, that is now here for the 21-22 catalog year. Information management is now information systems. So if a student was here prior, they would have been under the information management degree program. Those students, if they have not graduated by this summer, will be switched to information systems. Additionally, any new students coming in on the 21-22 catalog will be under information systems. That's really all that changed about it was the title. The study area of the degree and the courses and things of that nature have all stayed the same. A major one starting this catalog year is that we are no longer able to use CS 115 for students' computer proficiency requirement. So prior to this catalog year, students had the option of being able to use CS 115 or Computer Science 115 or IS 101. And now, unfortunately, we are only able to use IS 101. So again, this is for students that are coming in on the 21-22 catalog year. Anyone prior to that, we will still allow them to use CS 115. If they have not taken their computer proficiency yet, we are encouraging them to do IS 101 instead of the CS 115. So if students are getting the Associates of Business at CSN, or if they're wanting to know which computer course they should take for us, they should be steered towards the IS 101 class. And this is a couple years back, but I just wanted to touch on this again. So the from the 1920 catalog year moving forward, we have now implemented a new course, which is Business 321. So prior to this, students would be required to take COM 102 and English 407A. And we still have quite a few transfer students that come over with COM 102. However, starting from 1920 forward, they only have Business 321 as an option. So unfortunately, if they have the COM 102, and they're transferring over on the 21-22, they will still need to take the Business 321. Excuse me. So they, so I know for the Associates of Business, they generally need to take the COM 102. Unfortunately, if they transferred over to UNLV, that COM 102 would just be a general elective. So they may still need some electives when they come over, so that's not a huge thing. But I know a lot of transfer students are a little shocked by that because they are told to take both, and obviously they can't take the 407A there, but they come over here with the COM 102 and wondering why that doesn't apply directly to the degree. So that's something that's been a change for, like I said, for the last couple of years, just to remind everyone. Okay, so over the past year and a half during COVID, our office transferred over to electronic filing. So we now have everything electronic. This is what our new worksheet looks like. And when we print this out or we send it to students, it comes out as a 2-page PDF document. So the first page comes out as all of the general education courses that are required for UNLV. And the second page comes out as all of the business courses that are required for UNLV. For the most part, this has all stayed the same. It's just the structure is different. So we still require our 9 pre-major courses, and I'll go over that. The university still is requiring the same amount of gen ed requirements. And then once they get into the major with us is when they start focusing on the upper division. And there you'll see is the Business 321 class I talked about prior. So this is kind of a breakdown of our degree sheet. This is probably more for the newer advisors. Most of you probably already know this, but our students need to complete these 9 pre-major courses with a C grade or higher to get into the major. So those 9 courses are the Accounting 201, the Accounting 202, Econ 102, Econ 103, excuse me, Econ 261, IS 101, COM 101, English 102, and then they have a math option here. So generally speaking, students will come in either with Math 124 and Math 132 completed if they're getting the Associates of Business degree, or they'll come over with 126 and 127. Either one of those is fine. If a student takes 126 and does not want to take 127, they can take the 132. And then obviously if they've transferred over with a higher math like calculus or something like that, then they don't have to take those 2. So the most important thing with that is just making sure that the students are taking the 124 and the 132 or higher to meet our math requirement. As I mentioned before, there's the Business 321 class, our business core, and then the major courses that the student will complete. So to get into these upper division courses, like the yellow and the green portion here, they have to have all these 9 pre-major courses completed with a C or better. In addition, they also have to have a 275 GPA to get into the major. So sometimes we will see students from CSN that have everything completed. They have their gen eds done, they have their pre-majors done, and they're ready to apply to the major. To do that, they have to have a transfer GPA of 275 or higher. If they do not have a transfer GPA of 275 or higher, then we will require them to take 12 credits at UNLV to establish a 2.75 GPA or higher. The difficulty with that is if the student has already completed their requirements for their gen ed and their pre-majors, generally speaking, they don't have 12 credits left to take. So they may still need 6 credits of electives to meet their 50% from a 4-year rule. So that means that out of 120 credits, 60 of their credits need to be from a 4-year institution. So sometimes when they come over with, say, the AB degree, they'll have all the gen eds done, they'll have all the pre-majors done, and then this portion, the pink, yellow, and green portion, they only have 54 credits here. So that means there's 6 credits that they need to take in addition to meet that 50% rule. So we generally will steer them towards those 2 courses and then possibly just taking another 2 classes of their choosing to get those 12 credits to get the 275 GPA. If they come over with the 275 and they've met all the requirements to apply, they can directly apply and get into the major and start taking their upper division the following semester. In the non-business pre-major courses, we do also require a C or better in those classes. Even though they are not business courses, we do require a C or better. And we require a C or better in any prerequisites. So, for example, prerequisite for 132 is 124 with a C or better. So additionally for 124, they need a C or better to get into their econ classes. So that is also a course that we require for C or better. We supply students with the Planning My Schedule handout. This is a handout that basically takes the page of general education courses from the catalog and puts it on one sheet for them. So on one side of the sheet, you'll see a breakdown of courses the student can take in any of these specific areas that they need. And on the other side of the form is actually a 2-year plan if they were starting from freshman from the very beginning. And so it divides out their pre-major courses, their gen eds, math and English and so forth. So this is the sheet that we refer students to when they're wondering what they can take for their constitution, what they can take for humanities, fine arts, and etc. So the majority of this has not changed. I know that they have added a couple first-year seminars. There's a couple of second-year, or 1 or 2 second-year seminars that have changed a little bit, but for the most part, the overall requirements for gen ed have remained the same. So, and again here, say if a student wants to know what to take for humanities, we would refer them to this section here. So as long as they're taking the same prefix and numbered course at CSN, it should transfer over to UNLV as one of these general education requirements. So you guys have probably heard about this, and we were notified about the specifics of it not too long ago. And this would be the IGETC and breadth certifications from California. So when we see transfer students, we are trying to be more adept at making sure that if they have one of these things that we are making sure to mark off their general education requirements. It does waive everything except for Nevada Constitution and English 102. So we make sure that they're aware of that as well. The majority of students will know if they have the IGETC or breadth. If they come to you first and they have the IGETC and breadth and their gen ed's waived, and then they come over to us, we don't necessarily know that that's been the that's been given. So we do notify our students during our transfer group sessions that if they think they have one of these 2 certifications, to let us know sooner rather than later. That way, if we need to make any changes to their degree sheet or to their plan, we can do that before they start taking classes. So as you also know, there's been some changes with co-rec math and English. We generally are not as concerned about the English. So if a student is in the co-rec English or English 101, either way, they would qualify for Business 103, or Business Pre-Major, sorry. If the student is placed into math, the co-rec math, which is 124E plus 24B, they do not meet the requirements to become Business Pre. So before the co-rec math, it was Math 96. right? And the student would then take Math 96, and then they would go on to 124, and then once they pass the 124, we would then put them into Business Pre. If they come in placing into 124, say as a freshman or something like that, then we allow them to go into Business Pre. Because of the co-rec math change, and even though Math 124 E and B technically gives them credit for 124, we still require them to be placed into the Math 124 to be Business Pre. So if they are coming over to UNLV and they haven't taken math with you guys, let's say, and their placement puts them in the 124 EB co-rec math, they need to take that before we would switch them over to business. If they are able to take Math 124 here, they can go into Business Pre, or if they already have Math 124 completed with a C or better, they can go into Business Pre. So I mentioned the pre-majors a little while back. This is a copy of our application to the major. So when students come in, as I mentioned prior, they come in as Business Pre, right? So for them to be able to claim a specific major, they have to qualify to apply to the major. To qualify to apply to the major, they have to have at least 55 credits completed or in progress. And obviously we'll count if they transfer over with courses as well. They also have to have all of the pre-major courses completed with a C or better, which we mentioned earlier, the accounting, econ, IS, math, English, comm. And then they also need to have the 275 GPA to apply to the major. So this form we do have online. It's a fillable PDF. And if the student comes in during transfer session and they have met all these requirements, we encourage them to do that during the session and to turn that in that day. However, if they do not meet one of these three requirements, they cannot apply to go into their major. If they're not able to go into their major, they're not able to take upper division business classes. So sometimes we'll see where they have everything done, but one of the pre-majors is lower than a C. Or they have, as I mentioned before, they have everything done, but they don't have the transfer GPA of 275 or higher. So that's where we work with the student to see what we need to do to get them to meet those requirements so that they can apply. The 55 credits completed or in progress, generally if they come over with an associate's, they have that. So we don't really see that as an issue too much. It's mainly having the pre-major courses completed and then having the required GPA that they need to get in. If they are a former UNLV student, so this is something that I'm seeing students aren't as aware of, but let's say they came here, they took some classes and they didn't do very well. And then they went to CSN and they did great. And now they're coming over. They don't realize that their UNLV GPA will override their transfer GPA. So let's say if they left here with a 1.3 and they're coming from CSN with a 3.7, unfortunately, they still have a 1.3 as far as UNLV is concerned. So in that case, what happens is sometimes we'll have students that leave here, they'll go to CSN, they'll get their Associates of Business, they come back, they've completed all the pre-majors, they have the GPA, they have all the credits, but now they're facing the original GPA they left behind. In that case, we will work with the student. We will look at their transcript here at UNLV and see which courses might be courses that they may want to repeat to raise their GPA, or if they're eligible for academic renewal. So if they've been out of school for 3 years from UNLV, we go through and see what semester they might want to ask for academic renewal, which takes that off their transcript completely. Or they may just opt to take new classes, establish or raise their GPA here, and then move on from there. So another thing as well is if the students are planning on being accounting majors, you'll remember I mentioned before that the pre-major courses have to be a C or better. So that is still the case unless they want to be an accounting major. If they want to be an accounting major, then they have to actually get a B- or better in accounting 201 and 202. So for example, if they take one or both of these classes at CSN and they got a C and they come over here and they decide all of a sudden now they want to be accounting, we would require them to repeat those courses to get into the accounting major. Now, not to complicate things, but If they do have a C or better in these and they meet all the other requirements, they can still apply to a major, but it can't be accounting. So they would have to apply to a different major while they're working on raising the accounting 201 and 202. That might be beneficial for them because they can start taking some of the upper division business classes, but they would not be able to start their accounting courses. So in addition to having a B- or better in these two classes, accounting majors also need to take a competency exam. So to get into the accounting major, they not only have to be accepted to the major and do that gray form that I showed earlier, but they have to have a B- or better in both financial and managerial accounting, and they also have to pass the competency exam. Most of the students that are in this situation, we cover this during transfer and they have time to take that competency exam. So if they come over, they have everything done, they have a B- or better in accounting 201 and 202, they're ready to go, they can apply to the major. We can have them go through all those steps, and there's usually 1 or 2 exams left before school starts for them to take. So they're still able to get into the major. The tricky part comes if they have everything done here except for one thing. Like, for example, if they don't have the B- or better, or they don't have the 275 or something like that, then that causes some problems. So we deal with the students individually with that. But if you have any students that are thinking that they want to do accounting, it might be a good idea to let them know that not only is there the B- or better, but there is a competency exam that they will have to take. If you go to the accounting program's website here, it will actually give you a breakdown of what is on the exam, and it will show what dates the exam is being offered. So you can always send students to that website as well if they want further information about it. So in addition to our C or better, we also have a 3-time max attempt on all business classes. So that means that the students have 3 times to take a business course. So for the pre-majors, that's going to include both accounting courses, it's going to include all 3 econ courses, it's going to include the IS 101. And then after that, any of their upper division business courses. So they have 3 attempts to earn a C or better. If they take, let's say, Economics 102 at CSN, and the first time they got a D, the second time they got a C-, and the third time they got a C, they would be fine. Because on that third attempt, they received the C or better requirement. If, however, they did the Econ 102 and let's say they got an F the first time, the second time they got a D, the third time they got a C-, that then makes them ineligible for a business degree. So that's important to know too, because we sometimes, once in a while, we will have students that come over that have 3-time maxed attempt out of a business course, is how we refer to it. So if they have 3-time maxed out of accounting, the only degree they could still do is the economics BA degree. If they 3 times maxed out of economics, there are no business degrees that they'd be still eligible to do. We do allow students to petition